All right, mates, welcome back to the channel. JL Scott Fishing and Eats. I hope everybody is doing well. It is about that time again, the end of the year. The holidays are approaching. The schedules have dropped for next year, for 2023, for most kayak fishing trails. So the time now to come is to name those top 3 kayak bass fishing anglers for 2022 across the spectrum, mates, across the spectrum. Doesn't matter whether or not they fished. And we're talking about national anglers. There, you obviously have the opportunity to put in any of regional guys or local guys that you believe rise to the level, because they're out there. They're certainly out there. I know one of the goals for 2023 for KBF is to really get back to the roots of KBF. And not be so, focused on the little shiny object of who gets to call themselves elite and who doesn't. That's a mindset that never, in the end, never works. It just never does. I think they've probably learned that, over the years. And the trails are just going to focus on who they are and what they do well. On the long term are going to be very, very highly successful. And so you've got the 3 major national trails of anglers. They each have their own AOI, obviously, and then you've got some major regional trails for this. And so there is a straw poll on the Facebook page, JL Scott Fishing and Eats. There'll be a straw poll link in every video through December. On the YouTube channel, and in this specific video, specifically entitled choosing the top 3 kayak bass anglers for 2022. Does not matter if they fished Hobie, KBF, or Bassmasters kayak series. So as a straw poll, you'll be able to pick 3 anglers from the list. There's about 20 anglers on the list. It basically comprises some of the top anglers from Hobie, KBF, and obviously bass. However, there is also an other, so you can write in someone and add them to the list. Add them to the list for consideration for, top angler, top kayak bass angler, of the year. I know some people will come out. It's just been really, really crazy, but I'm sure that some folks are going to come out with a power ranking probably by the end of the month for 2022. For us, we're just going to do a simple straw poll where everybody's head's at. I was asked to do a straw poll on rating the kayak trails themselves, but I just kind of don't want to go down that rabbit hole. Just because I know, a lot of that has to do with circles we run in, and posses people fish in, and all that kind of stuff. It's just the way it is. And you just have to kind of learn how to accept that and kind of navigate all that stuff, and always understand, where the person's coming from that's providing information to you. So always try to get independent. It's the way I tell people is when people ask me about YouTube channels and people ask me about, people follow, I always try to give them independent people, independent-minded people. Third-party people that can be objective about a lot of stuff. If you're in the trenches, and obviously you can be pretty myopic about a lot of things, and so you kind of always have to take that with a grain of salt. But the top anglers are the top anglers, man. People can ramble them off and no, but it's just kind of like, who do you think, someone who has fished consistently for 2022, all parts of the country, didn't matter whether it was rivers or lakes or reservoirs, weather, didn't really matter. That's how I look at it. I don't look at it just as someone who fishes, who got straight points in AOI, because they could have gotten those straight points on like 2 bodies of water, 2 or 3 bodies of water that are all Tennessee River, okay? And then they came up to the Northeast, right? And didn't do so well. Or they didn't even come to the Northeast at all. Or they didn't go to the West Coast at all, which is pretty much normal for a lot of people because it's so damn far. And plus with the price of gas in 2022 and all that stuff, it kind of impacted a lot of things. But I always take that stuff into consideration. Someone that's got a depth of their schedule that they've set out and where they fished. You know, they could have fished Hobie, they could have fished KBF, you know, or they could have fished, you know, an event on each trail. They could have fished KFL. They could have fished the Challenge Series. They could have whatever. The Texas Trail Series. You know what I mean? All of that stuff. That's where I kind of figure, you know, I kind of figure myself out about people that are up and coming. You know, because when you can land these AOI points on Pickwick and Guntersville, then come up to the Potomac and slay them, then go to Winnipesaukee and slay them, then go to Erie and slay them, that says a lot about, okay, someone's ability. To me, to being like the top. And see, here's the thing, mates. This is what it's all leading to. You know this. This is what it's all leading to. Why is there not a National Kayak Invitational Tournament rewarding the top anglers in all major national trails and regional trails that are big? Because there are a few that are huge, okay? Where they send their top anglers, they basically submit their top anglers for an invite to a national event that's brought either on by the major trails, so it's a combined, think of it in terms of a Bassmaster Classic for kayak fishing, think of it in terms of Red Crest for kayak fishing, or like a Heavy Hitters, Red Crest for MLF, a Heavy Hitters for, you know what I mean? Something that's different. Something that you got invited to. I mean, the individual angler didn't just cut a check and show up and have the money and the sponsors to go to every event and rack up their AOI points because they got to fish every single event, when most people don't fish every single event except for various smaller groups of people that go across the country pretty much together and they fish these major events. Nothing wrong with that. But people that get invites for a national event paying out $50,000 to $100,000, okay, to the winner, or winners, depending on how they structure the payout. But it's an invite-only tournament, okay? And then let the community, via a straw poll of the 45,000 people that belong to KBF, the 10,000 or so people that follow Hobie on social media, the people that follow Bass, okay, let them straw poll where the event should take place. Let the people decide who's going to be the people's champ. Let the people pick the body of water that the 100 top kayak bass fishing anglers in the country, does not matter what trail they fish on, the top 100 kayak anglers get invited to this event that's supported, okay, by Hobie, KBF, Bass, and regional trails, okay, sponsor support, or an independent third-party organization that hosts the event, a national invitational event, with the support. Because it'll never happen, and it won't happen if everybody stays in a little corner, and everybody just, you know, I'm going to do my thing. That's not going to grow the sport, okay? It may grow your trail, but it's not going to grow your sport, okay? And so and you really want to take something to the next level. Because what happens now inevitably is you've got a winner of a Hobie Tournament of Champions. You've got a winner of the KBF National Championship Pro Series. You've got a winner of the KBF 10. You've got a winner of the AOI for Bass, or next year on Chickamauga, the Bass Master Kayak Championship, okay? Okay. Who's the best? Who's the best of the best? Right? And, you know, there are a lot of people who like to debate that. Okay, like, and that's kind of cool because it keeps buzz around, you know, kayak bass fishing. But in the end, who is the best of the best? Okay? And so when people ask me about the straw poll, I'm like, really, it's to start that conversation. Who is the best of the best? Okay? Because it's not just a bunch of anglers on one trail, necessarily. There are people who cannot fish certain trails. There are people who cannot travel to certain parts of the country, but they're still hammers, right? They're still the best of the best. They haven't made it to that level yet, maybe because of financial, maybe because of sponsors, maybe because of all that stuff, but they're still putting, you know, they're still showing out, right? And so that's what I think we need, a National Kayak Invitational event where you've got to earn your way in. You can't buy your way in, okay? You got to earn your way in. And so many series are set up now where you can buy your way in. Okay? And I'll take some heat for that. I get it. That's fine, but I'm willing to put my thought, out there and have the debate. Because if I pay, $265, if I pay $150 for every event, or $260, I guess, for bass, I think it is. I don't know. I got that to fish all 5 events, all 9 events, all, 9 events for this trail, 9 events, 5 events, whatever. My chances of earning AOI points and being higher up in that AOI pecking order are far greater, right? Because it's predicated on the notion that they want you to pay to fish the event because they're a business. Okay? That's how they get that revenue. Why do you think the Bass Opens went to, you have to fish all 9 events, okay, in order to get into the Elite Series? Sure, it's an honor and it's about weeding out the people and making sure that the Elite Series stays the best series in the country, in their mind, having anglers that have cut their teeth around the country, right? But it's also about, they just guaranteed 9 events for what? 150 anglers, 170, 180, maybe it's 200. Who knows how many are going to fish all 9 events, but it's a business, okay? And so they want that revenue, and it's no different than making it skewing AUI based on not how all the other anglers performed in a given event on a body of water in terms of how many catches were made that day, okay? And what the weight levels or the inch levels were that were brought or that were catch photoed and released relative to that day, that event, that number of anglers, right? It's all predicated upon the same for every lake, right? And whether or not you fished it or not. So you paid to play, right? And the more times you pay to play, the more points you're going to generate, right? And a lot of people think that that's appropriate, and it's kind of been that way. It helps support the trail. But does that mean that those individuals are the best, right? There could be a guy who only fished 2 events that finished in the top 3 in those 2 events, and that's it. And he's, he may. Now, some events have an automatic invite to their championship, right? If you win an event during the year, that's good. But then that's also bad if you think about it. Because from the business standpoint is, that angler doesn't have to fish another event all season long, potentially. If he's guaranteed entry, if he finishes in the 1 or 2 or 3 spot, or if it's a guaranteed entry to the show, to the dance, then he doesn't really have to spend the money, right, on any other events if he doesn't want to. He's going to get to go to the big one. And so there's something to be said about that. Because, he won an event, so he earned his way in based on the way things are set up today. So it's just a really interesting conversation to start for 2023 because we're moving in that direction. Because I think there are more people, and quietly, in the chatter, that want a national champ. They want a unified national championship. Okay, because the argument is going on too long. The kayak bass fishing community does not and should not want to turn into the boating community between MLF and bass and everything that's going on. Okay. They really don't, because it's not good. It's not good for the sport, okay? And so coming together and unifying that where everyone can get behind an event to declare a national champion, and that person is the national champion, is freaking killer. And I'm going to throw this out there. I've said this to some people quietly and stuff, and everyone's just kind of like, I wasn't really going to say much about it, but I kind of feel like there are some things that we can take from the Tour de France, okay, in terms of these events. Like, your national champion or your Hobie AOI champion or KBF or Bass, whatever, should be provided a jersey, right? Representing that trail as what they are, as the AOI champion, as the Tournament of champion, right? Whatever it is, that they can wear at every event the following season. because they are still the champion until someone knocks them off. And everywhere you go, wherever event that person would go to in 2024, for example, if it happened in 2023, people would know who they were. They would give the trail, they would know what trail that person was on. They would know that person was the AOI winner of that trail the preceding year. Or you could even do, Series could do it, Series could do it seriously throughout the year of their own series, where the leader of the AOI points wears that jersey, right? Or the person who has the biggest, the largest bass throughout the tournament, that jersey bounces around between the anglers who, at the time, hold the highest, either the longest bass or the biggest bag in inches, right? Any number of things that the kayak fishing community can do to take some things that have worked, that really engage people, that really get people in to watching and to following and to, you know what I'm saying, engaging. It's kind of like the buzzword for the last 2 years, that the kayak fishing community can do. Inside of a community that's very local, it's very like, it would be kind of like to transverse all 3 or 4 major trails, 5 of the major trails, really. From the Northeast, you got elite kayak fishing. Down in the South, Queen City, okay? Then you've got regional and local trails. Then you've got KFL. Then you've got, KBF, Hobie, Bass, right? Trails in Texas, okay? You've got all this stuff, right, to do this, and not having everything be so compartmentalized and separated out, where everybody's trying to like carve their own niche out. I'm going to get mine. You know what I'm saying? Which inevitably, some wither on the vine. I know of probably half a dozen trails that basically in the last 2 years are gone, that people are trying to bring back, right? And so that's what the straw poll really is, starting that conversation about, okay, who actually is the top angler of 2022? Is it a Hobie? Is it Hobie anglers? Is it KBF? Is it Bass? Like, who do the people actually believe? And a lot of times, what we're going to find is it's going to be the names that are the most popular. It's going to be the names that resonate with people because of maybe their social media presence, maybe their personality, maybe they're just on the stage. Like in every event, they're finishing in the top 10 based on their ability. There are a whole number of factors that could correspond to where someone would fill out in a top angler of the year race when you're looking at it at a national level. And what the whole point of the straw poll was to take a look at that list and think about what if, right? What if everybody just took a step back and said, you know what? It's time. It's time for a national invitational tournament where we can invite the 100 top anglers in the country based on performance, invited by an independent committee of people, 3 to 5 people, 5 to whatever it is, that they go through the applications or the potential invitees and formulate the list and find out whether or not those anglers are willing to come and fish for $100,000, okay, and make it happen. And then figure out when. And let the people figure out where. Okay? That way it's all equal. Right? It's all equal. Can you imagine? This won't happen. But can you imagine telling all the anglers 2 weeks before the event where the event is for $100,000? I mean, I know in this time it's a little bit harder to get, especially with travel and all of that stuff. But maybe 30 days. Maybe 30 days out. You learn the destination of the National Kayak Invitational Tournament. Right? Okay? Work it out with Hobie. Work it out with KBF. Work it out with Bass. So that event can fall somewhere where there's no events on either side, either weekend before, the weekend of, or the weekend after of that major event. KBF is finishing, I think, their trail in June this year. Okay? So, figure that out. And that's bring people together. Have the conversation. Put all these guys in a room. That's my biggest question about this stuff. Like, everyone does everything by text, right? Isn't it time at a national championship, or maybe the Bass's championship, or next year's KBF national championship, or maybe Hobie's got the reputation. They've got the clout to pull it off if they wanted to have a national kayak angler forum where everybody can come around an event. So you could come and watch the be there at the national championship next year, okay? For KBF or for Hobie, okay? But also have a forum or a seminar conference attached to the final, attached to the weekend, where all anglers that participated in all these trails around the country could decide if they wanted to come. You're to tell me that the host city of the Tournament of Champions next year, or the national championship, Huntsville, Alabama, wouldn't want 100, 200, 300, 400, 500 more people to come to their city for a 3-day conference on the state of kayak fishing, how to make it better, what to do, how to get involved, how to grow a grassroots organization, how to support national trail, how to do all that stuff. Instead of all these people doing their own thing separately, okay, and sometimes shitting on the other people, not them, but people in it that are in their posse, throwing shade and shitting on the other people they're working hard doing their thing, and it just becomes this back and forth. Have a national forum. Invite the voices out there that are the most vocal, podcasters, YouTubers, experts, biology. Invite those people, okay, that have street cred in the industry, okay, of kayak community, to speak at the conference. Bring people together. Stop fucking around with all of the stuff on social media and all the stuff that just people just freaking hate. Sure, there's entertainment value to people throwing shade on one another, but at the end of the day, it doesn't grow the sport. And in fact, it turns people against people that they've never even met. They've never spoken to. They've never fished with. They've never shaken their hand. All they know them is what somebody else said about them on social media. We need to move away from that. Move away from those guys. You know, that's all they got. That's what they got going down. They're not about moving the sport forward or fishing forward. They're not about educating. They're not about providing resources. They're not about showing people places, new destinations, all that kind of stuff, right? It's just something that the community needs in 2023, 2024 need to move into. So I hope that the conversation starts. I hope that the conversation starts about a national kayak fishing event. And I certainly hope that the conversation starts about bringing all of these people that have busted their asses for the last decade in creating these trails and rising them to the level they are today can come together and talk in a forum or a conference about kayak fishing and moving it forward into the next decade where everyone wants it to go. And feedback from everybody, man up, stop sitting behind the keyboard. Man, come to a conference, grab the mic, ask the question, answer the question, right? I mean, that's the way, it's the only way things can get out there and improve. When we talk about rules and boundaries and all this stuff, uniformity, standardization, so everybody knows the way things are. So every time you don't go to a different event, you got to learn different rules and you got to figure out all this different stuff, okay? Standardize it. Only way you do that is by bringing everybody together. All right, mates, straw poll link in the description. Have some fun with it. We're gonna do some giveaways for everybody who participates. We'll do a drawing raffle from it. If you file your poll, we'll have your name, put the names in, and give some stuff away in January for everyone who actually voted. Draw someone's name from the number of names of people who have voted, and get this thing kicked off. Something fun for the winter time. Again, have a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year to everybody out there that is out there, and I look forward to seeing some of you guys out there in 2023.